The Dark Room with your hosts, Paul Salvatori and Jordan Randall.
Everyone's heard of the Suicide Girls. Girls want to be them, and guys want to be with them. And today, we actually get the chance to be with one, Missy Suicide, the founder of Suicide Girls.
Yeah, so just to open things up, how would you describe the Suicide Girls?
Well, the Suicide Girls are a collection of beautiful women who have been taking provocative photos of themselves, pin-up photos of themselves for the past 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
That we are, the Suicide Girls was created to celebrate, alternative beauty and to expand the definition of beauty.
Right, that perfectly ties in actually to what I was going to ask you, or am going to ask you next, which is the philosophy about beauty or femininity behind Suicide Girls. Could you tell us about that?
Well, our ethos is kind of that confidence is the sexiest attribute a woman can have. And, on Suicide Girls, we have all types of girls. We've got 30,000 women from every continent in the world, including Antarctica.
Wow.
And all different, ethnicities, shapes, sizes, women from everywhere.
And the importance of tattoos in Suicide Girls, or among Suicide Girls, do you believe that's a kind of? I mean, I feel maybe at the time that you started Suicide Girls, it was, but I'm not sure now. But I want to ask you if you feel it's a rebellion against female standards of beauty and mainstream culture.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with tattoos that they are a symbol of marking what's going on inside on the outside of your body and decorating your body. They're kind of like it's a visual marker to celebrate a certain time period in your life, as opposed to something that you're going to be happy with for the rest of your life, and this is the end-all, be-all thing that is going to define you. It's, something that I feel like tattoos are beautiful, and they're about sharing, showcasing your individuality, and just marking kind of what's happening inside on the outside of your body.
I guess I should have asked this earlier on. So, Missy, when you started Suicide Girls, what was, I guess, just ideologically happening in your life then? How were you thinking about femininity? And how did you decide that Suicide Girls was something that the world needed to see?
So I decided that I created Suicide Girls because I thought the girls that I knew were some of the most beautiful girls in the world. Girls with piercings and tattoos, and girls with who are fiercely individual. And at the time, in 2001, there was two types of beautiful women celebrated. There was either the stick thin, super waif blonde supermodel like Kate Moss, or the buck blonde, silicone enhanced Pamela Anderson type.
Right. So.
And I thought that the girls that I knew were gorgeous, and I wanted to give them a place where they could be celebrated for being themselves, and not only through their image, but through their own words as well. And so, back in 2001, before MySpace or Facebook or Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, any of that, we created a social network where the women could share their thoughts and feelings with the world, as could the members.
So the name Suicide Girls, when was that sort of brought up, and what made you guys go with that? I mean, it does have a bit of a morbid connotation to it, of course, right?
Not really. I mean, so the name Suicide Girls comes from a Chuck Palahniuk book. He wrote Fight Club, and in his book Survivor, he was describing the girls that hung out in Pioneer Square in Portland, where Suicide Girls was started. And it seemed like a good catch-all phrase. The word alternative is just irksome to me.
Mm-hmm.
And, Suicide Girls is representative of girls who commit social suicide by choosing not to fit in. So it fit, and, the days of, like, John Hughes, where everybody claims their identity from the subgenre of music that they listen to, we're long gone by that point, and, our ancient memory at this point. But, everybody listens to a little bit of everything, and, it seemed like a good catch-all phrase, girls that chose not to fit in to commit social suicide.
For sure. And I mean, it's, I feel like when I see the Suicide Girls, the girls that, you guys have, I feel like there's a lot of, like, sort of punk rock roots.
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up in Portland during, like, the heyday of, like, grunge and, like, I feel like, and that's where Suicide Girls was born, was in Portland, and I feel like we have a little bit of that rebellious nature in us as well.
Yeah, Missy, I was wondering, in your mind, how far do you believe that Suicide Girls go visually to differentiate themselves? I mean, you touched on it a little bit, so if you could maybe expand on it, differentiate themselves from representations of female beauty in popular culture, including things like Playboy. So not just mainstream advertising, but perhaps a more risque.
Well, I mean, I feel like Suicide Girls are strongly independent, and they are just themselves. They're unique, and they don't try to fit into any sort of category, and so they are the girls that live life by the beat of their own drummer, and they don't try to fit into some blonde, high-heeled, silicone sort of fantasy.
Right.
They're just being themselves, and the girls on the site are they're not trying to be any fantasy. They're just trying to be who they are, and to project that onto the world. I feel like they're not trying to, the inspiration for Suicide Girls was really Bunny Yeager's photos of Betty Page,
Mm-hmm.
And how beautiful a woman is when she's just being naked and being herself and being completely 100% genuine, and in front of another woman, and not trying to put on airs for, not trying to be sexy for anybody else, just trying to be herself. And I feel like that is indicative of the site and of the girls. They're not trying to be, there's no, like, centerfold sort of ethos that the girls are trying to wiggle themselves into any sort of, fitting into any sort of box.
Right. Which reminds me, the popularity among women for Suicide Girls is pretty significant. I mean, you have, is it 50% or more?
It's about 53%
wow.
of our fans are female.
Right.
Of our members are female.
Yeah. And I mean, which is a major difference compared to magazines that are more male-oriented, like Playboy. So what do you think really resonates with the female audience when they see Suicide Girls?
I feel like the thing that that resonates with the female audience is that the girls are individuals, and that they're being celebrated for being who they are. Not they're not. I feel like they're saying that that sexuality and their nude form is beautiful. And I get emails all the time from women from around the world who say that, who thank me for starting Suicide Girls and say that they never felt beautiful until they saw girls on Suicide Girls that looked similar to them feeling beautiful.
Right.
And, they weren't these perfect airbrushed, unattainable bodies. They were real girls, and they were happy in being themselves and being appreciated for as such, and that it changed their outlook on themselves and on other women.
Right. I mean, does any airbrushing or photoshopping go into what you do? Or
There's some.
yes,
I mean,
understandably,
like,
yeah.
it's not really airbrushing, I would
Right.
say. I mean, there's
Right.
a blemish or whatever, that is
Right.
not there all the time. We want the girls to feel,
Right.
their best, but and like there's always like some small color adjustments or whatnot. But for the most part, the images are the real girl.
Right. Now, was it you, when Suicide Girls started, was it you that introduced the concept of having Suicide Girls have their own page where they can write and put their own thoughts and giving them a voice like that?
Yes.
Yeah, so could you maybe just tell us a little bit about why you felt that was important, which I think was a great idea?
Because I wanted the girls to be able to. I felt like they had so much to share and so much to say, and to just put their image up was a little bit. It was only a portion of the conversation, and to get to know the girls and to really have them express themselves and share their thoughts and feelings and the things that were going on with them, and all that, to have these 3D real people was more important and to have their voices heard, give them a platform to have their voices heard, was important. At the time, social networking
Yes.
was, and so people were quite I don't know, resistant to it. They thought that it would be, that nobody would want to put anything online because it would be too permanent and it would be too scary and too much for people to really, like, it could be used against you and it's on your permanent record and
Right.
it's accessible by everyone. And what if you don't feel that? Or what if you don't what if you change your mind or whatever? But, I feel like it's the same thing maybe with tattoos and like the sort of like cultural shift that we've had,
Right.
where things don't have to be permanent and people don't maybe it is the culture of the internet in general and the ephemeral nature of it and like how it's constantly changing and how we are constantly changing and how things don't have to be forever, but they were how you felt at that moment and documenting that.
Right.
And like trying to grab onto that sort of that moment in time.
Yeah, and I suppose, I mean, this was right before social media itself, right? And I guess that was a time when the culture was not yet ready for so much self-disclosure. So I guess in some ways maybe you were able to achieve two things that weren't done before, is giving models a voice and also in such a way that they're able to disclose so openly about themselves. Out of curiosity, do you give them a free platform to talk about anything and everything, or how does it work? Like, are they just limited to?
No, they can talk about whatever they want.
Okay, sure.
They can talk about anything, like
So-
even if it's,
Right. So, yeah. So no matter how controversial or political, there's no real rules for that. It's
no. I mean,
it's
the only
like
rule
a
is we
personal
have to
blog.
be
Yeah.
civil to one another.
Right.
That if it's hate speech, we don't allow
Right.
that.
Right.
But if it's and if it's like just we we would probably ask a girl to archive if it was just like an attack on somebody, or she was just. But other than that, like it's as long as you're respectful, you can say whatever you'd like.
So, Missy, would you consider the Suicide Girls to be pornography?
No. I mean, the female nude form is the most celebrated subject matter in all of art history. I mean, if you walk into any art museum in the world, you're going to see more nudity than you're going to see on Suicide Girls.
That's very true. So,
It's like, and our bodies aren't shameful. Our bodies are something that should be celebrated. And, and the more that you're confident and comfortable with your body, the more you're going to be confident and comfortable with yourself. And, people shouldn't be embarrassed of their bodies, and women shouldn't be. Women's bodies are not something that should be forbidden or shameful or secret or wrong, or used against us. Like, we should just be able to express ourselves however we feel.
Absolutely. So, as a founder of the Suicide Girls, like, at this moment in time, what is your input? I mean, like, is it like, because you guys do so much, right? I mean, I just watched yesterday the Suicide Girls Must Die movie. Mm-hmm. Like, is this stuff that you have direct input into, like all the doings, or?
I mean, there's been a lot of stuff, and the majority of it, yeah, it's all stuff that I've had a major hand in. But it's, like on the burlesque tour that we're doing right now, I don't choreograph it, but I come up with I match the themes up with the music and create, like, have the vision for sort of what I want to see the girls do. And, on a day-to-day basis, I'm in the office making sure everything's running,
Right. So,
on all the projects.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask you about live performance. Is that something that has been from day one, the burlesque and things like that? Has that always been, along with the photography?
It's been, so we started doing the burlesque tour in, I think, 2002 or 2003, and we started the site in 2001.
Okay.
And we did it through 2007, and then we took a break because it was, we are a small office, and we do a lot of different projects, and we were like, well, do we want to do this? We had just gone out on tour with Guns N' Roses, and we were kind of exhausted. We were, we were like, do we want to do another tour, or do we want to take a little break and put out a book? And we're like, well, let's take a break and put out a book, and then, let's take a break and put out a movie, and then it was, do you want to do this TV pilot, or do you want to do another book, or do you want to do, all these other projects? And so it just took a back seat from 2007 until 2013. And in 2013, we put out our book, Heart Girl, Soft Light. We sent 2 girls up and down the West Coast to do book signings at comic book shops. And by the time they got to Santa Cruz, there were like 500 to 750 people standing outside the comic book shop waiting to get 2 girls' autographs. So we were like, well, clearly people want a live sort of experience, and we know we can do better than just sending 2 girls to get, sending people to comic book shop to get 2 girls' autographs. So we decided to put the show back out on the road. And, back in 2001 or 2002, 2003, we kind of pioneered this sort of like alternative punk rock burlesque movement. So our show, but in the ensuing 7 years that we took off, there was, the burlesque world has really stepped up its game. There's, all sorts of like crazy, cool, like Star Girls burlesque, and even like spectacle style performances like Lady Gaga and stuff. And so we knew we had to really up our game and really execute everything at a much higher level than we had in the past. And so we decided to do pop culture themed burlesque this time. So every number is pop culture pop culture referential.
Okay.
And it's all set to modern music and the choreography and the costumes and the dancer abilities, and just everything is executed at a much higher level.
I imagine you get countless applications. I mean, too many.
About 30,000 a year.
Wow. So, what I'm wondering is, what are you looking for in a potential suicide girl?
Suicide girls, so the way that the application process works, they go apply on the site. Our model coordinating staff helps them fill out the application, or helps them fill out the paperwork and get a set shot and submit it. And if the set meets our standards for what is a photo set, then it goes into member review. Mm-hmm. And the girls get an account to the site so they can become members and start to get to know the community. And the community gives them feedback on their photo set and tells them, oh, what a great first photo set. This is awesome. And if that is the case, then they go pink right away and they become official suicide girls. Okay. And if it's like, oh, you're so pretty, but, you look so shy, you never look in the camera, or what a great theme, but you never take off the mask, or, whatever it is that the community says, and then they try again, and they try again. And, we've had girls that have been hopefuls, is what we call them on the site, for 6 years before they become suicide girls. And they've been active members of the community and getting to know people and, just trying and shooting new sets and making friends and getting all the benefits of being a part of the site. And we've had girls that have, had that's in the queue or in the member section for like 6 minutes before being suicide girls. So okay. It's just it depends on the girl on the set and the it's not easy to take a nude photo that you're going to want to be online forever, and
right.
Sometimes it takes a little while to get to that point, and so I feel like the member review section helps the girls to achieve that, because they're not professional models. They're not girls that are out there, doing this for a living. They're girls that have, jobs and go to school and are lawyers and architects and writers and authors, and they're not posing in front of the camera all the time, and so it takes a while for them to build up the confidence and build up the presence to take the photos that they feel proud of, that they're going to want to be their suicide girl photo sets forever.
So, Missy, I have to ask, in 2005, the image removal, would you care to shed some light on what exactly that was and what that...
Oh, when we had George Bush as our president, and we had John Ashcroft as our, Attorney General, and we were asked to remove some images. But yeah, so that was basically it. I mean, that guy is the Attorney General that he's the Attorney General who put clothes on the Statue of Justice. So it's like I feel like we've moved on. We have Obama as our president now, and we're able to put the images back, and it's not really an issue.
Mm-hmm. For sure, but I mean,
we're hoping that Donald Trump is not our president next.
Yeah, well, the feeling is mutual. But I mean, when this happened in 2005, I mean, wasn't part of the controversy the fact that there was depictions of like weapons and violent acts? I'm using air quotes when I say that. So,
I mean, it's all perception. I mean, I feel like the Suicide Girls site is designed to showcase how each girl feels sexiest about herself. So, some girls feel sexy in different different forms and different. Some girls might feel sexy in a stormtrooper outfit, and some girls might feel sexy in rope bondage. And it's not. I don't really think that's our government's place to say.
So you're obviously familiar with the God's Girls, right? And there's been a number of lawsuits, right, that the Suicide Girls have.
No, not really.
No?
Mm-mm.
Because I read somewhere that there was some sort of conflict of interest between some of the models, sort of going between the two.
There was in 2005. There was a bit of a thing, but I wouldn't say that
You guys aren't
one
like
lawsuit in 14 years is a lot of lawsuits. I don't think that's really.
So you guys aren't like arch rivals.
I don't know if I have an arch rival. I think I'd have to be a superhero to be that. To have that.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever do collaborative stuff? Has that ever crossed your mind?
Like collaborate with another brand or another.
Yeah.
We've done some things like with Sin City. We did a contest with them where we had an opportunity for a Facebook contest where girls applied to be Suicide Girls, and if they won, then they could do a Sin City themed photo set and get to go to Comic-Con with us and get to go to the Sin City party and meet Frank Miller and do the whole shindig. So that was super fun.
Nice.
So we've done a few things like that where it's been super awesome.
Right. So,
We also did what was the other movie? Hannah, and then there was that one was a little different, but that was more just for members and based on the soundtrack. But we've done a few movie sort of tie-ins and promos and stuff.
So do you guys ever go to conventions like as Suicide Girls?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we go to Comic-Con every year, and it's turned into one of the biggest things. The girls, we've been going for almost a decade now, and the girls all apply from all over the world to come out and just work the booth and hang out and have fun. And it's super. It's everybody's favorite week of the year.
For sure.
Probably be popular to Anime North.
Yeah, well, there's a number of conventions, that happen up here in Toronto. We've got like Fan Expo and Anime North. I don't know, like Anime North. It's sort of
one of the biggest in North
It's one of the
America.
biggest. It's not limited to anime or anything like that.
No.
Yeah, we've done a few conventions in Toronto, and we did I can't remember which one it was. There was like a comic book convention that we did up there a few years ago. You guys are in Canada, so you guys have a new prime minister. Is that what you guys? But and you guys have like the craziest new like liberal cabinet ever, right? Like, isn't it? It's like
Yes, we're hoping that will be a progressive change in reality. Yeah,
We're very
evenly
exactly.
split and like diverse and just completely awesome.
Yes.
I'm so jealous. While we're facing the threat of Donald Trump, you guys are in like utopia up there.
I was just going to ask, just as a final question, because you're obviously such a creative person. What generally inspires you, whether we're talking about Suicide Girls or other creative projects?
What inspires me?
Yeah.
I feel like the girls inspire me quite a bit. I feel like I don't know. I feel like the older I get, the more like my friendships and the people around me and all that are things that inspire me.
Wow, what an opportunity to speak with Missy Suicide. I've been a fan of the Suicide Girls for a long time.
Really a legend, like part of the public imagination now. And I feel though, there's still a veil of secrecy, surrounding some of those allegations that happened like some years ago about what's actually happening at the Suicide Girls. And understandably, she wants to protect the reputation of the organization. So I think when we were asking her those questions about what really happened, it was a little disappointing not to get underneath the surface and really find out what happened. I mean, years have passed. Even to get her own perspective as to whether those were really true, So, because that to me is like a fascinating problem, because it flies totally in the face of what Suicide Girls are all about, right? The idea that, there's a man behind the scenes, kind of as like the puppeteer, and he's really in charge of what these models can and cannot do, and what they can say, because the whole idea of the Suicide Girls was that they would have on top of their portfolio of photos or whatever, they would have those spaces on their sites where they could just speak openly about anything, right? It was about being themselves, political, social, what have you. So
yeah, that would all be sort of nullified if the reality was there was some 80-year-old man and
yeah, exactly. And the thing is that before we actually got to talking to Missy, I was looking online. The names are available in like some of the articles I was reading. The names of these models who spoke out and left eventually are out there, but they've changed lines of work and things like that, and it's very hard to get a hold of them. But I think there is, possibility down the road, if we can ever in the dark room speak to them, to get the other side, just to to find out the full picture.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're going to investigate
in exactly. Depth. Investigative darkroom.
Investigative. That's right.
Yeah.
And also, anyone who's listening should check out the film Suicide Girls Must Die. It's
that's right.
Very campy B movie, I guess you could say.
Right.
And it's got the Suicide Girls in it, and it's good for a fun night with a six-pack at home with your friends. So check it out.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if it's art cinema. It's like
it's something new entirely.
Yeah,
it's its own genre. I don't think
true.
It's uncharted territory. Uncharted cinematic territory.
I know. So next week we're interviewing a young lady by the name of Ali B. That's all we know. That's her name. She, I believe, wants to remain anonymous in that way, but she's got a very interesting profession. And that is
selling her panties on the internet. So, until then,
this is the Dark Room.